Imagine owning a car so beautiful, so ahead of its time, that even today collectors hunt for it like buried treasure. Yet almost nobody remembers it ever existed. Well, that car was the 1966 Oldsmobile Starfire. And today, you're about to uncover not just the rise and quiet fall of one of GM's forgotten gems, but a whole story of American ambition, design bravery, corporate missteps, and the strange way a legend can disappear in plain sight. 1966 should have been a celebration year for General Motors. This was GM at the height of its power, when America was booming, highways were expanding, and Detroit was writing the script for what modern looked like. GM's divisions were firing on all cylinders, cranking out cars that defined entire generations. Yet inside Oldsmobile, behind the shiny brochures, the confident salesmen, and the chrome-filled showrooms, a quiet shift was happening. One that carried more melancholy than excitement. Because 1966 marked the final chapter for a nameplate that once represented the very top of Oldsmobile's lineup. A nameplate that appeared suddenly, burned brightly like a comet, and then faded away with barely a whisper. That nameplate was Starfire. When Oldsmobile introduced the Starfire in 1961, it wasn't just another full-size car. It was a declaration of confidence. A statement that Oldsmobile could play in the same arena as the Thunderbird, the Riviera, and even Cadillac, offering luxury, style, and performance in a single, beautifully sculpted package. The original Starfire was built only as a convertible, and it came loaded with features that made buyers feel like royalty cruising down the boulevard. Leather bucket seats that wrapped around you, a sleek center console that felt like something out of a private airplane cockpit, brushed aluminum trim that sparkled in the sunlight, and under the hood, the most powerful V8 Oldsmobile offered. The Starfire wasn't priced for everybody. No, this was the car for people who had earned the right to enjoy something special. It was the Oldsmobile you bought when you had arrived, when you wanted neighbors to see not just a car, but a statement of success sitting in your driveway. But success changes things. By 1962, Oldsmobile expanded the lineup with a coupe version, giving buyers more choices and driving sales upward. For a while, the Starfire seemed unstoppable. Through 1963, 1964, and 1965, it held on to its identity with pride: big, stylish, comfortable, and powerful. It was, for a moment, everything a luxury American car was meant to be. But behind the chrome and confidence, the automotive world was shifting fast. Competition wasn't just coming, it was exploding. Muscle cars were emerging. Cheaper performance cars were stealing young buyers. Luxury cars were becoming more ambitious. Technology was evolving. And Oldsmobile, stuck between Buick above and Pontiac below, began reshuffling its lineup to keep up. By the mid-60s, the Starfire found itself surrounded. First came the Jetstar I, a cheaper alternative that stole sales from below. Then arrived the legendary 442, a car that offered raw performance at a price almost too tempting to ignore. And in 1966, the hammer dropped. Oldsmobile introduced the Toronado, a masterpiece, a revolution, a car so bold, so futuristic, so unbelievably different that it walked into the spotlight like a superstar and never gave it back. With front-wheel drive, radical styling, and a powerhouse under the hood, the Toronado instantly became Oldsmobile's new crown jewel. And the Starfire simply didn't fit anymore. While the Toronado rose like a hero, the Starfire was quietly pushed out of the frame. In 1966, the once premium Starfire was stripped of the very features that had made it special. Leather seats? Gone. Power steering, power brakes, power windows, once luxurious standards, were now optional extras. Even the convertible was axed, leaving only a single coupe version behind. This wasn't evolution. It was a slow, quiet demotion, and car buyers could feel it. The price dropped, the features faded, and with them, the Starfire's identity blurred into something Oldsmobile never intended. A sporty value car, not a flagship. One of the Starfire's proudest calling cards had always been its engine. For years, it came standard with Oldsmobile's highest horsepower V8, earning a reputation as a stylish brute, a gentleman's hot rod wrapped in chrome and elegance. But in 1966, even that crown slipped away. The Toronado arrived with a more powerful version of the same 425 V8, 10 extra horsepower, but symbolically it was everything. That 10 horsepower wasn't just a number. It was the final signal that Oldsmobile had a new king, and the Starfire's reign was over. But here's the twist. Despite the downsizing, despite the corporate rearranging, despite the shrinking spotlight, the 1966 Starfire still looked absolutely fantastic. The front end had a sleek, modern W shape when viewed from above, linking it visually to GM's most innovative designs. The hood carried a dramatic raised center crease, a bold wind-split molding that added aggression and elegance at the same time, the kind of detail modern safety regulations would never allow today. Move to the rear, and you'll find one of the most striking design cues of any Oldsmobile from the era. The concave rear window. Borrowed from the Pontiac Grand Prix, it gave the car a sculpted, almost architectural look. It wasn't just a window, it was an exclamation mark. And then there was the rear end, the part that still gets collectors talking. Instead of the traditional rectangular Oldsmobile taillights, the Starfire wore a massive cross-hatched panel that looked almost like a grille. Some people said it resembled a front end with hidden headlights. Others claimed it foreshadowed the 1968 Buick Riviera. Whatever the interpretation, one thing was certain. Nothing else on the road looked like it. Step inside, and the Starfire continued to impress. Bucket seats hugged the driver, a sweeping center console divided the cabin, and the four-spoke steering wheel offered tilt and telescoping adjustments. Cutting edge for its time. The leather may have been gone, replaced by vinyl, but the mood was still stylish and unmistakably 60s. Its Cyclops speedometer, a horizontal ribbon gauge, gave the dashboard a futuristic vibe that felt like something from an experimental show car. Even if the Starfire had been repositioned downmarket, it still had personality. It still had presence. And under the hood, it still had muscle. The 1966 Starfire came with a single engine choice. The mighty 425 cubic inch big block V8, delivering 375 horsepower. Smooth, powerful, reliable. Anyone who has driven one knows the feeling. You turn the key, hear almost nothing at first, and wonder if the engine even started. Then you touch the throttle and feel the surge, the unmistakable torque of a big Oldsmobile V8 waking up. But as strong as it was, the Starfire's 425 couldn't outshine the Toronado's hotter version. And when Oldsmobile bumped its engines to 455 cubic inches in 1968, the largest Oldsmobile V8 ever made, the Starfire's absence from the lineup became permanent history. By the time the last 1966 Starfire left the showroom, the story was already written. It was no longer the star of the lineup, no longer the flagship, no longer the symbol of Oldsmobile luxury. Simply didn't have a place anymore. When Oldsmobile quietly discontinued the Starfire after 1966, almost nobody protested. Almost nobody noticed. And tragically, almost nobody saved them. Which is why today, finding a clean, well-preserved 66 Starfire feels like discovering a rare coin most collectors don't even know exists. But the people who do know understand. They know the 1966 Starfire is a hidden treasure, an elegant, powerful, beautifully designed car that deserved a far bigger stage than it ever got. A forgotten gem built at a time when American designers weren't afraid to take risks. A car whose story reminds us that not all legends get the spotlight. Some survive quietly, waiting for someone curious enough to look back. The 1966 Oldsmobile Starfire may not have gone out with fireworks, but it left behind a legacy of elegance, innovation, and raw American personality. And sometimes, the most interesting automotive stories belong to the ones almost forgotten. If you enjoyed this deep dive into a lost legend of the 60s, do me a favor. Drop a comment telling me which forgotten classic I should uncover next. And hey, before you go, tap that like button and hit subscribe. Who knows? The next video might bring another hidden treasure back into the light.